Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka. With me on the show this week is adult film starlet Melody Mynx. Melody has a Gen X / pinup girl kind of vibe. She got into the adult industry and creating content for OnlyFans in her 40s. We talk about what it feels like to be cast as the stepmother a lot. What she absolutely doesn't really prefer to be cast as. She tells a tale about a double penetration gone wrong. She is a ton of fun. She gives advice to anybody wanting to get into OnlyFans or the adult industry. Her energy is fun and smart and contagious, and I think you guys are going to love this one and learn a lot. So, without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Melody Mynx.
This week's conversation.
Melody Mynx, welcome to Sex Party. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about how I was doing. I think, it's a combination of a couple of Red Bulls mixed with some excitement that the weekend's almost here, mixed with maybe potentially a nervous breakdown. So all in all, I'm here and we're ready to talk about all horny things and go down this adventure with you. So I would say I'm pretty good.
All right. I like that.
Yeah. It's a loaded answer, when you tune into this.
Enthusiastic about this.
Yeah, for sure.
It's great.
Yeah. I'm such a, what do they call that? I'm such like a melancholic sort of like person who is like dark. I'm a very dark sort of humor person, but at the same time, it's like, hey, if the world's going to end, we got to kill that last, couple shots of Tito's. That's where I'm at with it, So yeah. And now that everyone's like, oh shit, this got serious right in the first couple of minutes. Let's diffuse it a bit. Let's, before we go back up again.
They're all going to get drinks now.
Yeah. At 10 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, probably. And that's fine. No judgment. A lot of Wednesdays I wake up and I'm like, you know what? We should just drink this one off.
It's a day that ends in Y.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to.
And we're all saying why.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a very weird time of year. It's a very weird year. Everything's weird. And we love it. Okay. I'm gaining control of the podcast. Here we go. For the people who don't know you, they're super excited to meet you through the wonderful world of podcasting. Could you talk a little bit about who you are and what you do for the audience?
Of course. So I am Melody Mynx. I am a Gen X adult film star and OnlyFans creator and just general artist, creator, fun-loving kind of person.
Well, we love that answer. Gen X, adult star. And it's interesting because, if my notes are correct, and they almost certainly always are because they come from the wonderful, Erica Icon at the Rub PR, which, shout out. She's the best in the industry. Yeah, she's great. It says here in the notes that you've been in the adult industry for just 2 years. Is this true? This is true.
Yes. Yeah, okay. I didn't start in the pandemic when a lot of people did. Mm-hmm. It was more so just transitioning back to normal-ish life. And I just kind of realized that I just couldn't work for assholes anymore. Like I couldn't, it just wasn't working out. I needed to do something on my own. And I've always been super creative. I have an art degree. Like when I was 18 years old, I was hopping in tour vans, taking photos of bands like on the road. And I've taught art to kids. I was a part of a vintage collective here on the East Coast right before the pandemic. And just always bartended off and on for 20 years, like always just doing like little things, but like nothing really clicked. So I was like, well, maybe I'll do camming. Let me give that a shot. So I went to like a local producer's place here in town And I just did a quick solo. And I think I wore like a cheerleading outfit and got tied to like a St. Andrew's cross and like hit with a whip or whatever. But then
it's a good first day.
As
it's
you
a very
do
good first day. Yeah.
on a Wednesday morning, maybe.
Yeah, hopefully.
And I saw myself on camera and I was like, wait a minute, like this hits, like this is great.
Yeah.
Like I look good on camera and I love the aspect of like doing the wardrobe and the hair and the makeup. And, you know, it turns out I love to act and to like play a role. So then I just kind of jumped in tits first and here we are.
Okay. This is awesome. I love that we're here already. And in your intro, your self intro, because, you know, you, first of all, fucking rad. All of it is very, very cool. But the thing that you said that I want to hit on first is you said you were like, you know what? I look pretty good, because the thing that I hear all the time around the show, and we get into this so much, and I'm going to have you towards the end of the episode give these poor people some advice because they need it, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that want to do OnlyFans and they're so terrified of the way that they'll, you know, be viewed and whatever, and they'll get kicked out of their job or whatever. They'll be made fun of at the bar or whatever their thing is. But the thing is what if you do it and you actually look good doing it, right? And you just said, you're like, oh, okay, this works. So if you could talk a little bit more about like the realization that like, wait a minute, holy shit, like this is going to be a thing. I look great. Because I think more people need to hear that.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason that I got into the industry as well, is like being like a woman, like in, you know, the US in like her mid 40s. Like I never got married. I never had kids. Like I don't have the high powered, you know, I'm not a scientist. So it was just like, I don't know, society just kind of tells you like you need to be doing one of those things as a woman in this society. So I just, and they also kind of push like this ageism where it's just like, you're not hot if you're not 19. And, you know, I want to help other women realize that like, that you can be hot at any age and like doing whatever. Like I want to empower other women to be sexy and have fun.
Yeah, and they could use it, because I think everything you said is heavy on their minds, whether they are in their 20s, 30s, 40s and they don't have kids, or maybe they do have kids at any of those ages too, and they're all flipped out about, you know, the community, what they're going to think and whatever. And it's like, at the end of the day, one, how do you feel about yourself is really truly all that matters. And number two, you know, it's like, what if you feel great, you know, about yourself, you know, and you're absolutely right that they, especially now, again, you know, getting more into like what's happening, you know, in the current state of the United States. There's a big fight happening on online and, you know, in the media and the news about like what a woman should be and whatever. And it's like, I've always taken the approach, and they love to call me names online for this, but it's like, you know, once women feel better, things are going to get easier for men too. And I think that's something, it's so radical that we sort of demand, like as a society, like a woman has to hit these certain things and do these certain standards, but we're going to pay them less, or they're not going to have as much respect, or they, you know, they should be sexy but not be having sex. And like, it doesn't fucking make sense. So I love that your road into it was kind of like, well, I don't want to do these fucking things. I kind of want to do, you know, what makes me feel good. And that includes like feeling sexy and having sex. Right.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And it's such an empowering thing. And, you know, what a time to need it is right now. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. So, okay, you do the first scene, you're nailed to the cross or whatever, right? And you're in a cheerleading outfit, you look great, you're all into it and whatever. What happens from there? Do you get paid and then you're like, okay, thanks? Or is it immediately like, when can I book another, or what's the next move in your career from there?
Well, it was it was like a collaborative thing. So I did a couple like non-full sex scenes because I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do the full boy girl. But I was like, oh yeah, I'll do the cam stuff. I mean, guess how many cam shows I've done?
100, 1,000. Oh, okay. Oh, at that point, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've never done a cam show.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
I think they're great. Okay. I just hit the ground running, and I just haven't.
Sure.
Yeah, I just immediately, like, once I decided, like, yeah, I do want to do the boy girl scenes, and like I want to do mainstream. Then I did a few scenes with like independent studios here on the East Coast. And then I got signed with my first agents. And then I went to Miami and I was shooting like pro in like 2-3 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So what pushed it over the edge? What that decision to do boy girl, like what was the deciding factor? What was the moment where like, you know what, I will do boy girl scenes?
I mean, it was maybe over a week. And I was just like, like, I really enjoy this. Like, I'm not embarrassed. There's something for everyone. And like, I think I'm really good at this.
Right.
So I'm just going to go all in.
So what was that first boy girl scene like? Were you nervous? Who was your partner? Like, tell me everything.
Like the mainstream or the indie one?
Well, so you did an indie one first, right?
Yeah.
To test it out. And when you say indie, was that something that you released to OnlyFans? Did you have an OnlyFans at this point, or was it just like sort of recorded on a phone and uploaded to Pornhub, kind of a deal?
I didn't upload it to Pornhub, but it went on MiniVids. So it was like that collaborative thing where like he did the editing and then I got a fee, and then I started an OnlyFans and just
So were you okay? So the first boy girl scene, for the amateur stuff, like when you first tried it, sex on camera that's gonna go and be published with a male co-star. Were you nervous for that? Did it feel weird?
I wasn't nervous at all. I was like, this guy wants to fuck me so bad. Like, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be easy. Like,
yeah. Okay.
Like I edged him a little bit. So
great, amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was that? Just like a traditional couple different positions, like set it up for me.
Well, it was kind of like, I think it was a foot scene. Like we started out as a foot scene, and then I was just like, let's just go ahead and do the full boy girl. And I think he like tripped over his own feet and like fell into the other room and just.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm sure he had no idea his Wednesday was going to take a turn like that. Okay. So then you guys do it. And is it a scene where there's different positions switching? Like when he's like, oh my God, I'm going to come, like, did he come on your face, inside you? Like what kind of, like, how hardcore did they get the first time around?
I don't really remember.
Okay,
fair enough. I remember he started from behind, and I feel like he came pretty quickly. So it wasn't even like, it was like 3/4 of a foot scene and like 1/4 of a boy girl scene. Yeah,
because he was just there to fucking photograph to video the feet, and he got way more than he bargained.
But my pussy's magic, so
he got more than he bargained for, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you do that scene and you feel great about it and you enjoyed yourself, it sounds like, which is nice. And then do you how do you, like, where do the agents come into play? They're just monitoring everything everyone does in the Porn Variance Authority comes along or
well, there's always like, you reach out to producers through like Sexy Jobs and just like just reaching out through different people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I signed with Cox through photographer. I was just doing a photo shoot and I was like, listen, like, I really want to like do mainstream. And he was like, well, let me give Connor a call. And he sent Connor some photos, and then Connor was like, send her my way.
Okay. And then you said you went to Miami to shoot your first mainstream scene.
I did. Yeah.
Okay. In Miami, there's different beasts in the porn world. And I feel like if you look closely, each one, Miami, Las Vegas, and LA, they each have a different sort of like vibe or like feel. What was the Miami feel like? Did it feel like sexy and neon lights, or was it kind of like?
I mean, I don't really want to say the companies that I shot because I don't like.
You don't have to say, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
we're not.
I mean, it was just like, it wasn't really what I expected because I didn't do my research. I just kind of go and do things.
Sure.
And sometimes it works out.
Oh my God.
But it was just like, it just wasn't very me. Like I was playing very much a role. And yeah. And I, my co-star that I shot with was very lovely and everyone on set was very lovely. It was just kind of like the finished product, like wasn't really my brand or wasn't really like what I was going for.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then that was when I found out what a GILF was.
Okay. So they tried to put you in a box. Okay. And so you're like,
they were just like, oh, here are your stats. Like, just go do this. And yeah.
So, okay, when you show up on set and they're like, here's the script, right? Here's the working notes, right? You're going to be a GILF. Do you just, at that point, are you like, fuck?
Well,
I got the script. With it, or
I got the script the day before and I'm like, I'm sitting in my rental car and I'm like reading the title and I'm like, what? And I'm like, GILF. And I Googled, like, what is a GILF?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, Grandma, which, I mean, there's nothing like, there are so many sexy GILFs and like, I will proudly be a GILF soon-ish.
Right.
But it's just like not my brand right now. And then I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the Peaches, like 20th anniversary show. Like I saw her on her first tour. So I go out the night before and I'm like partying down and like Peaches is pouring champagne down my throat from the side of the stage. And she's like crawling out this giant like inflatable dick and like spraying like stuff out the end of it. And yeah, so I just like had a great time. And then I show up to set like the next morning and everybody's like, oh yeah, I watched TV and I went into bed. Like, what did you do last night? I'm like, I went to see Peaches.
Yeah. I did not GILF shit, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I did rock and roll shit, bitch. Yeah. I did what a porn star should be doing. I don't know. What the fuck? Okay, so you do that. It's not your brand. I mean, would you say your brand is more like even like MILF then? Is that like more of your...
I really do like acting and I like the improv-ness and I love like telling a story and playing a role because really just like, I just want to provide like a fantasy for people. So like I love playing like stepmom sometimes.
Yeah,
but it's a good one. It's not like what I want to do all the time because like as women, like we exist in the world. In all different kinds of capacities and roles.
Yeah. And it'd be nice if they could just like let you play around with what, and I get it because they're like, oh, the MILF stuff sells so much, so many clicks and subscriptions and like whatever. But you do seem like the type who is really good with acting, can kind of be a chameleon, has this sort of rock and roll style to yourself, not just in how you look and how you dress, but like, your attitude says rock and roll. It says Led Zeppelin, you know what I mean? And it's like, so it'd be nice if you could get some porn roles that aren't just like, okay, today's stepmom, tomorrow's MILF, and then you're going to be a teacher.
And I think too, like, cause I don't have any tattoos. Except I like my eyebrows and my lips, I was like, why get decorative ones when I can just get permanent makeup on my face?
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't get a lot of the fun alternative stuff. I don't really get cast for that. But maybe.
Man, Well, I mean, maybe Rob Zombie can start directing porn soon, and they can put you in
Yeah.
something. Because, like, what the fuck? I feel like you'd be perfect for, like, something that's like, I mean, not like necessarily like the crazy like House of a Thousand Cocks or whatever, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
which would very well might be the title of this episode. I have no idea, but I could see you more of like in a, no pun intended, like a juicier, meatier role, right? Jesus, nothing works when you're talking about porn. You can't say any of that because everyone thinks
you can't
about
say
dick.
anything. That's what it helps when there's a cock in your mouth. Because
dicks and fucking cum and whatever. Okay, so you do this scene. You're like, cool, but I'm moving on. Then do you then voice that to your agents? Like, hey, I don't want to be like, you're on the phone afterwards, your hair's all messed up, and you're like, hey, no more gilf stuff. Like, where does it go from there?
It just kind of goes, and I mean, like, my first agents were lovely. Like, they helped me out so much. But they're just like, you're 45. Like, that's what you're going to get cast as. And I'm like, well, can we take my age off my profile?
Sure. Or lie. Yeah.
I mean, we can't really, like, it's already out of the box,
I'm sure there's a guy you
can
can
jizz back in the dick. It's already out.
People have tried, for sure. I'm sure.
There's a fetish for that.
Oh my God, I'm sure. So do they? So they say that to you, and what was your response back?
And it was just kind of like and it did work out somewhat, where I was just like, okay, I'll go and I'll do the GILF role, and then the directors will meet me, and 9 times out of 10, they're like, why are you my GILF? Like, you should be my MILF. And then they'll book me for MILF roles. So it was just kind of like a getting your foot in the door. Yeah.
I mean, okay. So once you show up on set, you're kind of like, hey, does your grandma look like this?
Yeah. Who was I working with? I was working with Dan Damage, and he's sitting there and he's just like, so you're my mom? And I was like, no, honey, I'm your grandma.
Oh, no.
And he just went like, what?
Holy shit. Yeah.
So sometimes you just kind of have to like take your head like out of the game and just like, I can't marinate on it too much, or just like,
To be honest, sometimes when you're jerking off, like as a consumer of porn, you have to take your head out of the game a little bit, because you don't know sometimes like where the scene's going. And I've watched some fucking crazy fucked up shit, and I'm proud of it. I'm glad, whatever. Yeah. But sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I want to be, with my, 3 stepsisters and stepmom, like, inside of a cartel bus headed towards, this seems like a lot to think about. I need, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what's my edge? Where am I? What's going to get me off in this? This is too much. So I understand. I totally get it. Yeah. If as a consumer we have to dial out, I'm sure you guys have to dial out a little bit.
I mean, when I was just a consumer, and I can't even watch porn anymore, because now it's like, I see my friends and I'm like, I can't jerk off to you. Like, but when I did, like, I would just fast forward to the fucking part. Like, just the parts I just wanted to see.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because, there is that famous, I haven't seen it in a long time. It's like a meme. It's like the most watched parts in porn. It's like a little in the beginning, a little in the middle, and most of it's on the end, right? And I used to be that way, but as I've gotten older, I got to be honest, like, I need a little bit of a story. I need a little bit of some sort of narrative, usually, not always, right? But more so than before, because there has to be a hint of realism in there somewhere. It doesn't have to be very super real, but I need a hint of like, this could happen under the rights. If someone took too many, fucking pills and they got horny and now they're trapped inside the whatever, like, this could happen, or whatever, stuff like that for me. So, but yeah, you're right. For the most part, most people are just kind of going right to the action, like a little bit of the blowjob, a little bit of the fucking, pound town, and then the fucking, the grand finale, right, as we call it. So then you continue to do more MILF stuff, or did you finally get to be cast in certain, like, different, like, more fun roles, or are we still working on that?
Let's see, what did I do? For Mommy Blows Best, I got to be a teacher, and that was fun because I used to be an art teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah. Mommy Blows Best. I've seen this series out there in my porn adventures. I think the same people who did Mommy's Messy Mouth are the same producers of that one. I think.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
That would track. That would seem like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They sound they could be in the same porn extended universe for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to be a teacher, and that's a position of authority. So was it the teacher? Were you a dominant teacher, or were you someone who was like put in, like you get overwhelmed and submissive or whatever? What kind of teacher?
I usually do get cast for dominant roles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's usually the thing. And it depends on like who's directing. Like sometimes, I'm like, oh, can we do this instead? And they're like, sure. So sometimes, like, I think, what was it? The Johnny Love Naughty America scene that's just in a kitchen. Okay. Like they were just like, okay, we did the first part. Let's move to the couch. And then I just propped my leg up on the counter and I was like, can we do this? We just shoot the whole thing in the kitchen. Like, we're already here. Like, I just kind of want to have sex now. And
yeah, no, that's awesome. So would you say most scenes that you're in, you are enjoying them to the point that you want to make adjustments? Or because I hear two different things a lot. Like one, there's always a piece of enjoyment in the porn scenes, right? But a lot of times people are like, well, sometimes they have a shot list and they put us through, the different shots. And so it's hard to like really get into it when they're going to yell cut and then move on to the next shot or whatever. And then there's people like you who are like, well, I kind of just make creative little adjustments or ask if we can do this or that. And, you just said you're enjoying having sex at that point. So, and I think that translates on screen, because people can, for the most part, once you know what to look for, you can tell whether or not someone's really coming or having a good time.
Yeah, I think for me, like, I really enjoy the creative process, like being like a visual artist. So like, I totally enjoy the like mapping it out and let's do this and like getting ready for the scene to where like when we start the scene, I'm already soaking wet, which is usually awesome. Then my co-stars just look at me very confused. They're like, we haven't even done anything yet. I was like, no, I'm already like so turned on because like, I love doing, I was like, we're partners in making a thing. Mm-hmm. Like we're making a fantasy for somebody, we're making a project. And I really enjoy that. So.
Well, do you attribute, yeah, no, this is actually really fascinating. Do you attribute that probably to the fact that you got into the industry like pretty like later in life versus getting in when you're 20 or 19, like you said earlier? Do you think that allows you to then be able to enjoy the sex more because you've already had regular person sex for, long periods in your life? You've already done the thing and you viewed porn as like, this is fucking porn. This is great. This is cool, whatever. And now all of a sudden later in life, in your 40s, right, you're in porn. So I would imagine you get far more turned on than someone who's been in porn since they were 20. They didn't really have a lot of regular sex maybe or whatever. So that's sort of what it's coming across in the interview so far. Is that,
I think maybe it's more that I'm just like, I'm kind of an artist and I like creating and making stuff and like that turns me on. So then we add the sex in and that just like makes it even better.
Yeah, as it does. Yeah, for sure.
It tends to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, you're someone, you're with the foot guy and you're like, okay, no, I want to have sex now. Or like, well, what do you think? And then you do that. And then you're in the kitchen with the other guy and you're like, well, what if I do this? Like, let's just shoot it in the fucking. So you do have this like horny kind of control, it seems, creatively over what you're doing. I think that's awesome because sometimes, we rarely hear that on the show that someone is able to have that creative input and people like trust it, the directors, the producers.
Yeah, I mean, they're placating me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So is there a point where it goes like does it ever like when does it jump from just boy girl to like boy girl girl boy? I mean, have you done like a multiple person scene? Have you done like two guys or a girl and a guy or two girls or any of that stuff yet? Or
well, my second day of shooting, so the one where the GILF role, that was a boy girl.
Okay,
so like I kind of jumped right into that.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And then I've always enjoyed like anal in my personal life, so I was like, sure, let's do an anal scene. And then I've just kind of like stopped it there. Like I haven't done the gangbang yet. I haven't done the DP yet.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're waiting. You're what do they call that in the porn game? Like the porn ladder, I think, right? Where you can kind of like ratchet up the level of craziness. Do you think those things are coming in the future at some point?
I mean, maybe, like definitely a DP. Like I really want, I mean, I did like a collab DP and it wasn't that successful. So I really
So wait, you did a collab like for mainstream or OnlyFans or
for OnlyFans?
Oh, okay.
And it was definitely a collab. We're all just like looking on our phones, like, what does this look like? How do we do this? Like,
right.
Like, how do they do this in mainstream?
Yeah. It wasn't that successful. See, okay, we need to take a beat and really dive into this because we've heard this a lot on the show. People do DPs, which again, for the newbies here, DP stands for double penetration. It means one penis in the vagina and one penis in the asshole at the same time. She's being double penetrated. And we actually had like Tori Black on, and she talks about her first DP on camera and walked us through all of that. So hopefully everyone is caught up now, right?
Yes.
And if they've listened to the show or watched the show, they've heard us talk about this, but they've also heard us talk about how unsuccessful this could be because it is very, 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 very tricky to do. So what happened in your case? Who was this your idea?
Yes, it was my idea.
Okay, of course it was. Okay.
I'm the idea person.
Yeah, you're the creative mind behind everything.
Well, I mean, logistically, like you need two fairly large penises for this to work, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were down a large penis. Sorry, I didn't know you were going to take a sip.
No, water break. We call it a water break on Sex Party. And I just take them whenever randomly. So if I spit it out, it's a good sign. So I almost spit it out there. Yeah. Okay, so you're down a large penis.
We're down a large penis. So then we're like breaking and we're like trying to figure out like how does this work? Like how do they make this happen like in mainstream? And then it was just like a few minutes of trying to make it work, and then we're just like, let's just finish it out as a boy girl boy, and yeah.
So somewhere on your OnlyFans there is a partial DP scene.
Yes, well, and on the mini vids too.
Okay,
so I feel like that's easier to navigate.
Yeah, OnlyFans can be a little tricky. Their customer service is also not that great. So fix it if you're listening, OnlyFans. You need to really get on that.
OnlyFans is great.
I've heard that. I heard good things. Actually, I've heard good things about Fansly. The people telling me Fansly
yet.
I haven't even. Yeah, I've never downloaded or.
It's just me. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Those all the social media platforms where you can kind of barely show anything, and then other ones you could say things but don't show anything, and then you start to average in all the OnlyFans, Fansly, ManyVids, Fanatics. I think that one sells hats. That's not a
the Philly site, Fanatic.
I don't know. It's just like
I don't know anything about sports, but I know we have wild like characters.
Yeah, I keep getting emails. I bought a Chicago Bulls hat, and I keep getting emails from fanatics.com, and that's so I just threw it in there.
Oh, okay.
An asshole. But okay, so you do that's fan in there, whatever. I'm sure that top fan. It's either sports. When we use the word fan, okay, it's either sports. It's going to be a sports website or a porn website, right?
It's
let's think about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do a partial DP. Very difficult, and you know, one guy has to be the anchor and not move at all. The other guy, and if you move, you'll fuck up the guy's stroke, and the whole thing is just fucked up. And then you really can't move at all, but you have to brace, right? So there's that. Okay, so you finished the scene out as a successful boy, which is everybody loves one of those, right?
I love one of those.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Okay, so were you doing two guys in your personal life, like throughout your life too, or did you have those instances?
No, it almost happened once in college, and then I like felt guilty.
You felt guilty
because it was the 90s. I don't know.
Wait, you felt guilty, like personal shame? Guilty?
Yeah, I was all I probably shouldn't be hooking up with two dudes at the same time.
And here we are in the 2020s. So it's like, fuck that. It's so bad.
If I just would have had this confidence in the 90s,
yeah. Well, the 90s was a weird time too, and people don't like to even like look back. Everyone wants to look back on the 90s like it was the perfect. I was there. It was lovely, but it wasn't perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was like I was a riot girl, like doing cheers and like a cheerlead. Once again with the cheerleading outfit, in high school, like pissing everyone off, and and then going to work at my bar job a few years later, and my manager just called me Jugs. Like that was just,
oh my God,
like that was acceptable. So.
Yeah, well, that's again, the 90s had their issues, guys, too. Just as we have ours now.
Romanticize it.
The music was a lot better than it is now, but like that might just be my fucking, elder millennial ass saying that. Like these kids and their music. I love music. I just don't know what happened. Okay, so we'll leave it there.
I just live in a very like small bubble of music.
That's a good idea because but Sex in the 90s was that's where I like sort of like hit like full on puberty. I think is like 9, 10, 11, like in the early 90s, and so. There was a lot of sexy things happening in the 90s. And, we didn't have OnlyFans or whatever, but we had Playboy and fucking the Playboy channel. And there was tons of porn or whatever. But for some reason, you're right. There was like the shame factor was probably a little bit worse in the 90s than it is now. Even though, God, if you go on Instagram, I'm constantly fighting with like incel dudes who are just, they want to keep that shame.
I know, there. What is this?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's Elon Musk that's sort of propelling this, or it's just all Andrew Tate, or these people's parents are just.
Well, I mean, I never thought that I would like live to see the day when Roe v. Wade was overturned. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Like, what is this parallel universe we're in?
We're in a different timeline, for sure. And I hope that, a lot of that stuff, either way we go with this, I feel like we need to spin back into the other timeline where we're making progress and things were good. Right. Yeah. And hopefully we will. I think you're doing your part with, at least attempting DPs to break us out of the timeline. Did you see that pivot? We pivoted right off that. It.
Right, that was right so back. Good. That segue was like, you get a round of applause.
Okay, and so when did you? Okay, so you started in mainstream, or you did many vids and then mainstream, but then when did you launch it?
Everything at once.
All at once. Okay.
I just
Okay. And so so you launched an OnlyFans in that same time frame too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were you sort of using the OnlyFans to see what you would like to do in mainstream, or were you just kind of like, hey, throw it at me, I'll say yes or no?
I think it was just throwing the pasta at the wall, like see what sticks. Mm-hmm. And I do enjoy a lot of the like artistic like photographs and like things like that. And I kind of figured that was also a way to connect with my fans and to like, hey, this is kind of like, I know that I played, the stepmom, but like, this is like what I'm into as well. And just kind of connect with fans that way.
Yeah. And so And to dive into the stepmom thing a little bit, right? Because there's so I hear from performers that are fine with it, they don't care, and then some of them are like, I don't know why we need all this incestuous family stuff or whatever, and then other people are like, no, it turns me on. I think it's great. So we've heard all of the opinions. I mean, you're playing the stepmom. Who's helping, Jimmy with his homework and Sally with her whatever. Like, what does that mean? You are an actor, right? And so you can get into the role. I mean, do you find yourself turned on by playing the stepmom roles?
It's not really the role as much as it is just like making a story. Mm-hmm. Like, okay. I get super turned on that I'm making a story and that I'm making, like somebody's like, it's like, it's what gets them off, and that gets me off. So I'm making it more for like the fans than like, yeah. You're
not going into work like, oh, no stepmom today. This is bullshit.
I don't really like playing like a predator.
Sure. Right. That's so funny that you said that too, because it's like probably like it's always in the top 3, I would say, on Pornhub, like stepmom or stepsis or whatever.
But I'd rather I don't know. I'd rather play a stepmom than a mother-in-law.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For sure. That one's not even fun to me, to be honest. I don't know I can understand the stepmom, but it's funny you said predator, because if you extrapolate and say, and let's take it outside the porn world for a second. If someone's stepmom was like, hey, your dad is shooting blanks and I need you to breed me and get me pregnant, it would be like calling 911 like right away, usually.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I'm almost like I'm, nobody's going to get this reference. I feel like I'm Barnabas Collins, like lurking in the back from dark shadows. Like I'm like sneaking up, like, let me help you with your homework.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like maybe if maybe he'll finally move out if I scare him and take all my clothes off and come on to him. And it's like, oh, it backfired. Oh no. Or when it's always like some scenario that if it were real, which is, listen, that's why porn is lovely. Porn saves, they say Jesus saves. I say porn saves, because you get to fulfill those fantasies. You're absolutely right. You get to create those fantasies, and everyone else gets to fulfill those fantasies by watching that, and like not having to think, oh, this is wrong or weird. It's just porn. You know what I mean? Once you get to a place with it like that, it just becomes, I think, a lot more fun. And it's so funny that you said, like, if this I don't like playing a predator, because in real life, you can't do that, but that's what porn offers, is sort of that gateway, that key to a fantastical place. Okay, so that's awesome. And then so like with your persona, with your whole look and your whole vibe, like, what are some of the requests on OnlyFans, and like what kind of content are you putting out on OnlyFans?
I mean, I love it when people DM me and when in my little welcome note, I'm like, let me know what you like to see, because I want to make the content that they want to see. Mm-hmm. I also do like a good bit of like fetish work. So I do get a lot of the foot fetish, the like tickle, sneeze, armpit sort of thing.
Okay.
So I get a lot of those requests. I do get that's why I brought up the mother-in-law. Like, I've gotten a mother-in-law request and I was like, I don't think that's for me.
No, thank you. I can't do that one. Reformat it and send again. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to fix it a little bit and say, well, I don't want to do that, but
yeah. A lot of it's just like solo stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. I get a lot of like requests for, write my name on your tits.
Okay.
Yeah. That sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you never know. When I ask that question, we get so many different answers from across the sex spectrum, and it's just you never know what's going to come out of somebody's mouth. And it's fascinating because people will say things to you on OnlyFans because it does feel more intimate. They are paying to be there. They are more respectful usually, from what I understand, and so that's where you're going to get the real stuff. And so I think it's good to know that you're passing on the mother-in-law. I mean, that's somebody who there's something
They're
going
probably
on
like
there.
watching this right now.
Yeah. Well, and maybe they have some sort of like turn on or angsty resentment towards their real mother-in-law, and they want to,
they just said that I look like her.
Okay. Okay. See, I was close. We are
myself in so much trouble.
Well, I think the thing is, and what we're sort of highlighting here is, it's fun to be taboo, right? It's fun to do that because it's safe in porn, and you can do. There is really nothing that's weird. I mean, I'm sure there for a lot of us, there's stuff that's like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah, that's not for me. I'm not, I'm not kink shaming anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I just talked to somebody earlier who was very unfamiliar with BDSM, and they, opened some email from somebody who wanted them to do a scene, and it was like very BDSM heavy. And they were like, I was on the phone with them while they were talking, and they were like, "Oh my God, is that legal?" Like, kind of. So you can be shocked by whatever, but I think that's part of the fun and with porn and doing the show. It's like we're constantly finding new things and new
there are new levels, new depths, like things that I didn't even think about.
Sure.
Like, I was trying to film like a pee video for somebody, and they're like, well, can you like flip over and like pee on yourself in the bathtub? And I'm like, well, I've taught yoga for 13 years. Like,
sure,
I'll give it a try. Like, if there was a blooper reel on that, it would just be the best thing ever, because it's like really hard to get yourself in that position in a bathtub.
Yeah. You should definitely make a blooper reel somehow and just sell that separately and make double the money. Cause that's
I'm like sliding around in my own pee, like trying to like, get upside down.
Sure. And like piss content there, that's a new one. Like, I mean, it's not new at all, right? But if you look at like what's sort of out of nowhere coming out of the ether last couple of years, you could even see this shit on Instagram. Like people aren't actually peeing, but it's like they're talking about it in the TikToks they're making without talking about it. So it's like this whole other thing that maybe 10, 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot of people in the mainstream talking about piss content.
Yeah.
But now it's in the mainstream, and I think it's
it was all new to me. It was like, I did like, it was like a fetish scene, and it was like, she was bullying me, and they're like, well, can you pee your pants? And I'm like, let's find out. And I can.
Wow. Okay. So that was a mainstream scene.
No, it was just like an independent, like fetish producer scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Makes more sense. Yeah. Well, because there's so much crossover. Yeah. You never know.
That would be my first Brazzers scene. They're like, what we want you to do is get in the bathtub,
piss on your own face,
try it, pull over.
Yeah, for sure. So if you had full creative control, right? You could play any role. You obviously would want to make it like hot and horny and whatever. Mm-hmm. Like what would be your ultimate role that you would play, and what would you be doing in the scene?
Well, I have 2 series that I'm working on right now.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, let's hear about those. Of course. Anything works.
I'm like the ultimate. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. I change my mind a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm doing one where I'm an art teacher, and I'm like, so I use my younger male students, talent, and I love it because I'm actually like teaching them how to draw too. So I get like double. I'm like, no, this is how you draw a boob. It's not a bowling ball. So I've started that series, and then I'm doing another one called Shop Girls, where I'm using my friend's vintage store, and then people are coming in. So I've done like a solo one. I have a girl set up. So it's just going to be like a small series on people that come shopping for vintage clothes, and I get to seduce them.
Okay. And so are you primarily the dominant in all these, or are you the dominant up until a certain point and you sort of get overtaken, or like what, do you stay dominant throughout? Or what sort of role?
I generally stay like dominant with Al, but that just might be because I'm kind of new at this like directing, sure. And like I just want things to like look a certain way. Like right. I always like I never think like in my personal life I would not consider myself a dom. I would consider myself a sub. Mm-hmm. But then I've just kind of settled on like I'm a reluctant dom. Like
I guess. Yeah. If you need me to, like, fine.
Like I want you to take charge, but you have to do it right.
Right. So you're a perfectionist, submissive.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That totally tracks. Yeah. With your personality, that totally tracks. When you like, what are your favorite calls to get? Like, obviously, like from mainstream, or OnlyFans too, I guess. But like people with ideas. Like, what are you like? Oh, this will be fun. I can't wait to come all over that fucking guy. Or what are your favorite calls to get where you're like, oh, that I'm not even going to protest that. That sounds fun.
Well, I recently did a threesome scene with April O'Neil, and I love her. She's amazing. And Chad Alva. Like they're both great. And we had this like beautiful like threesome scene. He does this Dr. Daddy series. And I had shot with him before for that, which I have yet to edit and release. So I'm just going to release that as like a prequel after the fact. But yeah, that was beautiful. Like the camera work was excellent. Like I like to make things really pretty.
Yeah, the aesthetic is important. We've been talking about that a lot on the show too. I don't know. So in the notes it says you returned to the mega site MILF MYLF for your eighth scene as a cougar on the loose. So is this the one that we're talking about right now, or is this a different thing?
No, I was talking about an independent one. But okay. The one that I did just shoot for MILF that was released, that was an anal scene, co-starring Nikki Rebel, and Trinity Olsen was the extra. So it wasn't a full boy, girl. Yeah, that was a lot of fun because I really love doing anal pile driver. Like I love to make people blush on set. It's kind of my goal. Okay. Like if I make the director blush, I'm like happy.
So that's hard to do.
I feel like, and it's not intentional. I just feel like, what's the word? Not intimate. They underestimate me a little bit. Like, It's like, okay, well, in this barbershop scene, we're going to have you like, he's going to sit in the chair. I love that scene. And you're going to give him a blowjob. And they're like, do you need a pillow for your knees? And then I just like drop down, and then like everybody just turns bright red. And they're like, okay. So this anal scene, I'm like, can we do pile driver? Can we do anal? And they're just like, okay.
If you insist.
I did. I totally insisted. Like the director, lovely. Tony was just like, well, I guess, we don't have to do the pile driver. Like we have enough. And I was like, but that's the only thing I wanted to do.
Are you sure? No, yeah, I want to do it.
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's going to look great.
Well, and those are the best people to work with because, again, it sounds like you have a level of things that you want to achieve, but also a level of like perfectionism, sure, but also a level of like, I'm going to fucking really go for it in my own way. And I think, again, that's the kind of porn that everybody wants. They want to see someone who is excited to be there, and is welcoming, but also like there's just that energy that you have when you're enjoying yourself, and you can just tell when someone's going out of their way to be like, no, I want to be here. That's like a totally different vibe, I think, and you embody that very, very well, I think, from everything that you said. So from the beginning of your career, which has spanned about 2 years, right? Maybe a little bit longer at this point.
Mm-hmm.
When they at the very end, you know, were you like facial from the beginning? You were cool with guys coming on your face from the beginning. Did you work your way up to that? Is it like a cream pie thing? Is it an anal cream pie thing? Are they coming on your tits? Like, because everybody has their different way where it's like, no, I'm cool with it all from the beginning, or I'm going to work my way up to that, or I have big boobs, come on my boobs, or like whatever. So like, what's your take on that? What are you usually doing in your scenes?
I mean, for like, you know, mainstream, and I'm just whatever, wherever you want it to go, whatever it's going to make the shot look the best, like you think is going to make it the most successful. A lot of times they do choose to come on my tits because they're natural. So it's like a little bit different.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, you know, a cream pie is always going to sell. People love those. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, I used to be like way back, people were like, I don't know, you would have like the way they kind of promote first anal now in the back in the day in the 90s again, right? They used to promote like first facials and shit like that. And now it's almost if someone's not doing a facial, it's kind of like, what's the deal? You know?
Yeah.
or
I mean,
whatever.
a lot of POV, I guess I do facials as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the eyes like pop.
Right.
The eyes pop, the dick pops.
You gotta have the eye pop to go with the dick pop for sure. Okay. Final piece of the show. You know, and I think you are probably overqualified to answer this question. And this is what I love about this is that we ask this question a lot. It's actually we're going to break this down into 2 different sections.
Okay. I like that you keep me like on a path. It helps.
Well, you know, I think that's what we have to do as the host, right? That's what I have to do. I think some people, you know, maybe they lose their way, and that's okay if that's their show. But on this show, it's like we kind of cruise and we take these long sort of like ways around the forest, and there is no direction, but there's just a constant forward movement. So I appreciate you appreciating that. That's very.
I kind of sent you on a tangent, but that was not intentional.
Oh, I mean, it's all right. You know, we can handle our tangents too. So I love to ask this question, and I think, like I said, you're overqualified, which is even better. So let's say there's somebody out there, they really want to start an OnlyFans. Maybe it's for money. Maybe it's because it makes them feel sexually empowered. Maybe both, but they're terrified to do it. They don't want to be, you know, made fun of or have their shit leaked everywhere and, you know, fired or whatever, but they can't stop thinking about starting the OnlyFans and they keep putting it off. Right. Or even doing mainstream, but mainly like, you know, ManyVids, OnlyFans, like stuff on their own. What advice do you have to that person to just sort of push through that fear and what could happen and just kind of like go for it? What advice would you give?
I say, fuck the haters. Like if it's something that like you really want to do and, you know, you're not hurting anybody else, and you're really feeling that like creative need, that drive to like explore that. I mean, it's just hard because like your friends, your family, like you don't want them to like think badly of you. I've definitely lost friends because of what I do, but I just kind of look at it as like people don't have to be in your life the whole time.
Sure.
Like there's certain like times for like certain friendships, and then, you know, it just, if somebody leaves your life, then it just makes room for somebody better to come in and take that space and to like love and support you. So I feel like if it's something that you really want to do, then do it, go for it. Like, and you don't have to like jump all in like I did. Like you can just start out doing little foot stuff and just explore and like see how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen to like what you really need to do.
No, I mean, incredible advice and totally appreciated. Again, on the advice tip, can you give some advice to men since you're very experienced in this and you're in the industry and you're doing all the sexual things, can you give some advice to men on how to eat pussy better?
Oh, see, I'm not the person to ask because I hate having my pussy eaten.
Really? Why?
I just like, well, there was a thing where my first boyfriend told me that my vagina was like, was gross and was like deformed. So I'm still kind of like a little like nervous, like,
sure.
Like I'm not that confident, but also it's just not my thing. Like I just don't really enjoy it that much.
Yeah, totally.
Like, and it's like, if on scene, whatever, sure. Go for it.
Have at it. Yeah.
I'm going to be thinking about how I'm going to redo the next part of the scene anyway. So
yeah. Well, I'm sorry someone was an asshole to you and made you feel shitty, years ago. That sucks. Well, these fucking people need to be.
Yeah, I mean, that just says a lot about them and just like their own insecurities and yeah. But let's see. Now I've gotten myself totally off track.
Well, I can flip it because there's a flip side question.
Okay,
maybe this one's better.
That.
And this is the final question. Can you give some advice to women on how to suck dick better?
Oh, well, I kind of have to know what they're doing wrong.
I would just say, I mean, in general, right? How would you, if someone's like, "Hey, I have to really suck this dick," like, what would you tell them? What would you tell them?
I mean, like, I want to know why they don't like sucking dick. This is like is there a gag reflex? Is it like,
I don't know. I don't know if you have like go to moves that you usually do.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Sure.
You just had to rephrase it.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Why wouldn't you want that in your mouth? Well, I can deep throat, so I do like to do that. I say use your hands a lot.
Okay.
And like gentle licks and just kind of taking it in. I do this little thing where I kind of like to put the head in like at the tip of my mouth and just kind of like pop the tip off the roof of my mouth and then suck the dick more, like try to take it all the way down. Balls are important. People like those tended to. So, I've had partners that like really like long nails, just like gently like stroking that. But I mean, pay attention to your partner. What do they like that's not a no for you? Yeah.
No, that's great. That's fucking great. Melody Mynx. Thank you so much for being on the show with me this week.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's my pleasure. I'd love to have you back. Before we let you get out of here, let's tell these party going motherfuckers where they can find you on socials, where they can find all of your where they can find your Instagram, your OnlyFans, your many vids, all of those things.
I'm going to make it easy. Just go to my link tree, melody.mynx, MYNX. And that has all the links to the mini vids, to the loyal fans, to the OnlyFans, to the Instagram, to the Twitter. I refuse to call it X, to all of the things.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We got to do this again, so we'll have to set that up. But I really, really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Talk soon.
Bye.
Big thank you to my guest, Melody Mynx, for being with me on the show this week. Make sure you go check out everything she is doing on OnlyFans. Go shower her with cash, buy some content, look for the failed DP scene. I'm sure you guys will love it. Make sure you go follow her on Instagram and show her some support, right? If you guys are loving guests like Melody, you want to see more guests like her, she will be back. We just talked about it, right? You'll see. But you want to see more guests like her. You want to keep hanging out with me and talking sex and relationships. How do you make sure you never miss an episode? How do you show some love, some desire, some appreciation? Well, I'm so glad that you asked. If you're listening to this podcast on platforms like Apple, Spotify, iHeart, right? You could leave a rating. You could leave a review. Those things are great, but fuck that. Okay, let's be real. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you're subscribed. That way you never miss a brand new episode every single motherfucking Wednesday from now until the end of the universe. There will be Sex Party every single Wednesday, especially if you are subscribed or you think you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts. Yes, you know what I'm going to say. They've been doing this weird thing. They've been unsubscribing people or pausing people's subscriptions. So what you want to do, go to Apple Podcasts, go to Sex Party with Dustin Rybka. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a circular sort of icon. You might see a pause button or some weird icon. Tap that. A drop-down menu will appear. Go to resume downloads. Boom. You are now resubscribed to Sex Party with Dustin Rybka. If you're watching on YouTube, I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube and you could only choose one food to eat for the rest of your life, would it be hot dogs or corn dogs? The only condiment you get is mustard. Leave your answers in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, you know, what can you do, right? You want to make sure you never miss a new episode. Well, you guessed it. Subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss a new episode. You could leave comments. I love when you guys leave comments, even if they're nasty. I will engage with you. It's very, very nice. You could like all the videos. But again, the most important thing you could do, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new episode. As always, I'm available in the DMs on Instagram. And I will see you all right back here next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter @SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin @DustinRybka.